Hey everyone, it's morning of July 18th, so it's been about 3 weeks since we did our second planting and about 5.5 weeks since we did our first planting, and everything's looking really good. So I want to just do a quick update. I'll show you around on how everything is doing, and I'm going to harvest this arugula and some of the lettuces down there and allow our second crop to kind of catch up, and then we'll hopefully get a second harvest out of what we cut today. And I'll show you some of the pest problems we've been having, and that'll be it for right now. So first up we have our mesclun mix. I did, these are 2 new rows, and the third new row, well, they're about 3.5 weeks old now, and this was from the original planting. So this is about 5.5, coming up on 6 weeks old, which I think is a little too long for this. I'm going to try and cut it a little sooner, maybe 4.5 weeks. So this isn't quite there yet. I've got some nasturtiums scattered in between. They're like an edible flower. It should be pretty. I'm kind of testing out companion plantings and seeing how things do side by side to each other, as well as following succession plantings. Here's the romaine. So this romaine is 5.5 weeks, and it's not quite ready yet. Probably another week I'll start cutting it. This is a new planting, so 3.5 weeks. And then I get some spotty germination, and I think it's more due to the soil than the seeding. I get patches where nothing comes up, or stuff is really slow, all side by side. More nasturtium. I think I had 3 planted, but only 1 has come up so far. This gold rush lettuce is really nice. I like this. I'm gonna harvest this right now, and the purple lettuce. And then here's the new plantings of each, 3.5 weeks old. They're really slow, so I think lettuces for sure I'm gonna start out in seed trays moving forward and try to transplant them. I need to get better spacing in here too. I think they're a little bit tight. Anyway, okay. The radishes I harvested yesterday, they were overdue probably by a week and a half. At 25 days, like the package suggested, they weren't quite ready. About 30 days I figured out was just about perfect for them, and I let them go a little bit too long. But they were quick, and they were really easy. So they're a nice filler crop, I think, going forward. And so what I'm testing here is peas, and then I have a row of radishes, row of peas, another row of radishes. This is the same variety of peas, and the cherry bell. So the maestro peas, and then cherry bell radishes in between. These are also 3.5 weeks old. So about another week, I think the radishes will be ready to harvest. And then the peas will still take another couple weeks after that, so it should be a nice, we'll get the radishes out there just as the peas are starting to open up and give them more space. The arugula, I've been clipping some of the arugula as, here's a leaf I missed, and so it doesn't taste so good when it gets that big. I'm also going to harvest all of this morning. Here's some fresh arugula as of 3.5 weeks ago next to some beans. Pest pressure on the beans, eating the leaves. I don't know if this is all slugs, stuff eating from the edges, I think is something else. But I found a lot of slugs, and so I'm going to be doing some work trying to get rid of those. The reason I have the slugs, I think, is from the overhead watering, just keeping the soil so moist, and then the shade, and the leaves are moist too, and so they really like climbing up on those and eating, and I can't blame them. The peas seem to be a lot more resistant to the slugs than the beans, except for my soybeans over there. I'll show you those in a minute. Those are probably the worst hit of anything. But again, another arugula, peas. So I did the same thing with radishes over there, and I'm gonna see how this works out. So I planted this row. It's 2 types of beans, and then it switches to peas halfway down, and then I used up the rest of my beet seeds in here. These are golden beets, 2 rows of golden beets on this half, and then 2 rows of red beets on the other half. So here are the peas. Peas are looking good. But then I get really spotty with the beet germination, where this mainly sawdust, it seems like. So I don't know if the mulch has something to do with the germination rate here. You know, when we get more to the wood chips, they seem to do a little bit better. So maybe I stick more to wood chips rather than sawdust. And here the onions. Onions are looking really good. I'm super happy with these. The soybeans have been the hardest hit by the slugs. I'm thinking I haven't found many slugs on the soybeans, but the leaves definitely have the most holes out of anything, and some of the young plants just get they don't look very healthy at all. I think it's from slugs. The beets are looking good. See how they finish up, and I planted younger ones back in here, but again, really spotty germination. There's a whole patch right here where nothing has come up, and then different growth rates too. But it also might be here's directly underneath the watering nozzle, and so maybe it's overwatered here, and they do better on the edges with less moisture. Carrots they're a lot slower than I thought, but they seem to be doing really well. They look healthy. But again, very different growth rates. Very young, immature plants here compared to ones nearby which were planted at the same time. So that's something I wanna learn and figure out how to control better. Then here's just 3 more rows of beets. So yeah, here's a quick update. I'm gonna harvest this lettuce now, because I also want to practice the harvest process and just kind of get a routine worked out for that, and just go through the motions over and over and kind of learn the different things that affect the quality and the taste, and learn to optimize that and keep everything fresh. All right, so I've got a bowl of what used to be ice water here. We don't really have much of an ice making process yet, so it's just cool water right now. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna cut, I think I'm just gonna cut down this row. All this stuff kind of looks immature, this whole mesclun mix. Then I'm gonna go through and I'll cut some of our bigger gold rush and purple lettuce, and then I'll go down to the arugula and cut that up too, and we'll get it soaked in this cool water right away. And we'll go inside, rinse it up good, and dry it off. And then we'll bag it up and put it in the fridge, and we'll eat it tonight. They say cutting it early in the morning before the heat of the day, you preserve some of the tenderness of the leaves and they don't get bitter. If you cut them after they've been in the hot sun all day, they're usually bitter and not as palatable. I'm gonna leave the romaine for now for another week, I think, and then we'll cut that. And so I'm also cutting these low leaves that are kind of in the dirt. I'm not going to keep them, I'm just going to cut them off so we get more air around the base of the lettuce. Because the slugs don't like it when it dries out. And they like to live down here. Yeah, there's a couple of them. There's 2 of them in the dirt. Yep. See, that's what we're trying to get rid of. So I've just been flicking them away off the other side of the fence, but I should be salting them or something to really get rid of them. Well, so here's a fresh bowl of lettuce. I'm gonna go and I'll rinse it off and dry it, and I'm gonna weigh it and see what we end up with for this little harvest. You know, that'll kind of give me an idea of yield. And compare that going forward, you know, with our how long it took to get that much lettuce in that much space. We can kind of project our cash flow. So to harvest, I'm just grabbing the plant, getting all the leaves bundled together, and taking my serrated knife, just sawing through it a few inches up to leave the younger leaves, which are going to grow into a second harvest. And here's a big ant. I don't know if those guys are eating leaves too. The red ants can chew off the plants at the base sometime. I've seen a few of that with the beets, where they just tipped over and they were eaten off right at the base. So that might be ants or maybe a caterpillars or something. Learning as we go. What do we got here? Oh, it's just a stick. Okay, so here's our arugula, fresh arugula harvest. We're gonna go inside and wash this up, and then we will dry it off and weigh it and see what we ended up with for that 4 rows of arugula. Okay, so I got my lettuce and arugula all washed up and dried, and I weighed it out, and I've got about 6 ounces of lettuce and 5 ounces of arugula here. So just under 3/4 of a pound. Thinking I could sell this at our market stand for $10. And next season, before we start selling, I'm going to go around to the local grocery stores and see what they get for comparable organic produce, and I'm going to match those prices. That way it's easier for the customer. They don't have to justify spending more to support the local economy. It's just as easy to support us as it is the grocery store, and then it's just a matter of us making the system efficient enough to make profits at those prices, which I'm confident we can do with a little ingenuity. So yeah, we're gonna keep this in the fridge until tonight, and we're gonna have it with dinner and see how it tastes. And hopefully everything is good, and it's a good product that we enjoy ourselves, and I think other people will also. My plan moving forward will be to start to germinate the seeds in soil blocks in trays in these beds with the covers and the overhead irrigation, and then after 3 to 4 weeks transplant them to the bigger open beds in the field, and I'll have either drip lines or a weeping hose to irrigate that rather than the overhead irrigation. I think that's what's drawing the slugs up onto the plants, is keeping them moist and shaded. That's what they love. So we will, but it's really easy, and the plants start really good in that environment. So we don't want to completely get rid of this, but we're gonna try a 2-step process though, moving forward with more of a transplant in the middle, and I think that'll be a pretty solid process.